40% of so-called American outboards are built with foreign parts. Behind every badge, hidden clones and global supply chains wage a silent war, one side betting on dealer-backed longevity, the other on bare-bones price. This shocking difference shapes not just the wallet, but years of ownership, failures, and trust. Why are these secrets so rarely discussed? The real answer starts far beneath the paint. Mercury Marine stands behind a polished counter, sleeves rolled, boasting decades of saltwater victories and a reputation for engines that outlast the hull. The company's badge signals more than horsepower. It promises a support network stretching from marinas in Maine to the Gulf Coast, where certified technicians, proprietary diagnostics, and branded parts keep boats running year after year. American outboard makers like Mercury, Yamaha USA, and until recently Evinrude have built their image on durability, advanced electronics, and dealer-backed service. Their engines are engineered for the long haul, thick alloy castings, digital controls, and a warranty that means the phone gets answered when something goes wrong. Owners pay a premium, but they buy into a system designed for endurance, resale value, and the comfort of knowing help is always nearby. On the other side of the docks, Parsoon and its cousins, HDX, Yamabishi, C-Pro, move with a different swagger. These are the economy replicators, flooding global markets with engines that mimic the look and feel of proven Japanese models from the 1990s. Their promise is simple: get on the water for less. No digital throttles, no proprietary software, no high-dollar dealer visits. Carburetors rule the day, electronics are minimal, and price tags often undercut the competition by thousands. These brands rarely sponsor fishing tournaments or grace glossy brochures. Instead, they thrive online, in backlots, and on the transoms of budget-minded boaters from Southeast Asia to the backwaters of Texas. American brands invest in research, regulatory compliance, and tightly controlled assembly lines. Their dealer networks form a safety net, offering rapid parts delivery and technical support. Chinese brands focus on mass production, affordability, and simplicity, selling engines that are easy to understand, easy to fix, and if needed, easy to replace. One side bets on legacy and long-term trust. The other side bets on accessibility and the freedom to walk away when the bill gets too high. In this market, every outboard carries the DNA of its maker, workhorse or replicator, each with motives as distinct as the waters they power. 40% of the parts inside a typical American outboard trace their origins to factories far from Wisconsin or Tennessee. Electronic control modules, wiring harnesses, and even aluminum castings often arrive stamped from China, Thailand, or South Korea before final assembly stateside. The badge on the cowl may promise American heritage, but global supply chains have blurred the meaning of national identity. Meanwhile, Chinese outboard plants in Zhejiang and Jiangsu churn out near-perfect clones of the 1980s and the 1990s Yamaha and Mercury blocks. These engines, built almost entirely in country, rely on reverse engineering old blueprints, sometimes with permission, often without. The result is a world where engines that look nearly identical can hide strikingly different pedigrees inside. Between 2018 and 2025, the U.S. government imposed a 25% tariff on Chinese-made outboards and parts, pushing total duties to 27.5%. Dealers who once filled back rooms with budget imports watched prices spike overnight. Many Chinese brands pivoted to markets in Russia, Southeast Asia, and Africa, where patent disputes and duties matter less than getting a working engine on the water. The trade war did not stop the flow of offshore content into American-branded motors. It just rerouted supply lines, with U.S. manufacturers lobbying for tariff exemptions on electronics and castings they could not source domestically. In the end, a so-called American outboard is often an international puzzle, assembled from parts that have circled the globe. The culture of cloning is not limited to finished engines. Aftermarket parts labeled as fit for Mercury or fit for Yamaha now flood online stores, almost all sourced from Chinese suppliers. Mechanics and owners searching for a deal face a new dilemma. The same gasket kit may come from 3 continents, each with different tolerances and unknown chemistry. The simple story of American versus Chinese outboards unravels under the microscope of global trade. What matters most is not the flag on the box, but the choices made on the factory floor. Choices that will soon reveal themselves in the metals, coatings, and failures that separate legend from liability. Inside a controlled lab, the difference between American and Chinese outboards is not branding, but metal, chemistry, and precision. Cylinder heads from a Mercury 150 and a Parson F-150 sit side by side under harsh fluorescent light. The American casting, Mark 356 T6, reveals a dense, fine-grained microstructure, evidence of full T6 heat treatment, solution hardened and artificially aged to resist both stress and salt. The Chinese head, cast from a lower-cost aluminum silicon blend, lacks any temper marking. Metallographic cross-sections expose scattered porosity, pockets of trapped gas, and uneven grain boundaries. Where the American part shrugs off 1,000 hours in salt spray, the Chinese casting begins to pit and flake within weeks in ASTM B117 corrosion chambers. Micrometers move in, measuring critical bores and sealing surfaces. The Mercury block holds tolerances within plus or minus 0.02 millimeters, barely the thickness of a human hair. The Parson measurements wander to plus or minus 0.1 millimeter, a gap wide enough to compromise oil retention and gasket sealing. Automated coordinate measuring machines verify every American block before assembly, logging dimensional data for traceability. In China, manual calipers and visual checks suffice, and batch records are rare or non-existent. The result? American engines deliver uniform fit and finish, while their rivals sometimes ship with mismatched bores or warped surfaces, setting the stage for early leaks and failures. Surface protection tells another story. The Mercury lower unit gleams with a thick Type 3 hard anodized finish, built to withstand years of brine and UV. Coating thickness measures over 40 microns, confirmed by eddy current probes. Under the microscope, the Chinese lower unit powder coating appears thin and uneven, flaking at edges and exposing raw metal after simulated impact. Salt water accelerates the damage, pitting spreads, fasteners rust, and sacrificial anodes shrink faster than designed. Even the stainless steel tells a tale. American bolts are 316 grade, marine certified, while Chinese fasteners sometimes corrode within a season, their lower nickel content betrayed by orange streaks and seized threads. These invisible choices, heat treatment, machining precision, coating chemistry, determine not just how an engine looks out of the box, but how it survives the real world. In the lab, every shortcut leaves a trace. In the water, those traces become failures. The true difference is not in the horsepower rating, but in the silent battle between salt, stress, and the science of what holds together when everything else wants to break apart. A 40-horsepower outboard sourced from a Chinese factory can sell online for less than $1,000, shipping included. The math behind that price is not just about labor. Assembly line wages in Zhejiang or Jiangsu often run 1/10 of what an American marine worker earns. The real savings begin with the blueprint. Chinese manufacturers skip years of research and development by cloning proven out-of-patent Yamaha and Mercury designs. There is no engineering team refining combustion, no emissions lab running cycles to meet Environmental Protection Agency and California Air Resources Board rules. Most Chinese outboards never see a formal certification test, sidestepping regulatory hurdles and the expensive process of building engines that can pass them. Dealer networks, a fixture in the American market, are another cost cut from the equation. American brands bake the cost of warranty coverage, dealer training, and technical support into every new engine sticker price. Each Mercury or Yamaha sold in America carries the weight of a promise: parts on demand, rapid repairs, phone calls answered by a technician who knows the model inside out. Chinese outboards, by contrast, ship direct to consumer or through small importers. There is no army of certified mechanics, no branded diagnostic tools, and no regional parts warehouse. If a part fails, the owner becomes the service department or waits weeks for a replacement to arrive by courier. Support is not built in. Electronics are another dividing line. American outboards bristle with sensors, digital throttle systems, and proprietary control modules. These features drive up both performance and cost, and they require specialized support and software. Chinese outboards keep things simple: carburetors instead of fuel injection, basic ignition, and wiring that can be repaired with off-the-shelf parts. Fewer electronics mean fewer points of failure, but they also mean less efficiency, more emissions, and a ceiling on technical advancement. The trade-off is deliberate, aimed at hitting price points that American brands cannot approach without gutting their own support structure. Electronics shape design from the start. Every shortcut on the factory floor, whether in material, machining, or documentation, translates directly into the price gap on the sales page. American outboards carry the burden of compliance, research, and support. Chinese outboards are built to be cheap, easy to buy, and if necessary, easy to walk away from. The savings are real, but so are the compromises, and the true cost of those choices will only become clear once the engine leaves the dock and meets the water. A battered outboard waits on a wooden bench, its casing streaked with salt and oil. On the Gulf Coast, a master mechanic pries it open, revealing a story written in corroded gears and swollen gaskets. He has logged over 200 Chinese outboard teardowns since 2015, each one a lesson in what happens when cost-cutting meets the realities of the sea. The failures are not rare. Crankshafts fracture, gaskets rot and leak, gear cases seize after just a few seasons. In his ledger, the numbers tell it straight. Chinese engines in his shop fail at 3 times the rate of American models, especially when pushed hard or run in brackish water. This is a problem of reliability. A shrimp boat owner, Carlos Ruiz, keeps his own record, one measured not in hours, but in lost days and missed hauls. He swapped out a proven Mercury for 2 budget Chinese 90-horsepower motors, lured by the savings. 5 years later, the math is brutal. Downtime from blown gaskets and gearbox failures cost him weeks on shore, waiting for parts that never seemed to fit quite right. Each breakdown means pulling nets, scrambling for a loaner, watching the season slip away. By the 5th year, the resale value of his Chinese outboards is nearly zero. No buyers, no trade-in, just a pile of receipts and regret. The mechanic's verdict is blunt. The shortcut in gasket material alone guarantees trouble. Some dissolve in fuel, others warp with heat. Even the best intentions cannot save an engine built for price over endurance. In the end, the true cost of a bargain outboard is measured not by the sticker, but by the hours lost in the ledger lines that never balance. A warranty card means little when the nearest service center is 1,000 miles away. American outboards typically come with 3 to 5 years of coverage, honored by a dense network of certified dealers. Parts ship overnight, diagnostics are handled with factory software, and most repairs are finished in days. When a Mercury or Yamaha owner calls for help, they are routed to a technician who knows the serial number, the service history, and the quirks of that exact engine. If a lower unit fails, the replacement might arrive before the weekend is over. Chinese outboards, by contrast, offer a warranty that often expires in 12 months or less. Claims require photos, videos, and sometimes a return shipment across the Pacific. Parts requests trigger a waiting game, 2 to 6 weeks for a carburetor, sometimes longer for a gearbox. Owners describe combing online forums for compatible pieces, only to discover that even so-called Yamaha clones have subtle differences, bolt patterns off by a millimeter, seals that will not seat, gaskets that dissolve in fuel. Many independent shops refuse service outright, wary of chasing parts that may never arrive. An independent dealer puts it plainly, "With American Engines, I can get any part in 2 days, and the customer is back on the water. With Chinese Outboards, I tell them to bring a book." For buyers, the real price of a bargain motor is not just in the sticker. It is measured in lost weekends, missed trips, and the long silence that follows a breakdown, while the boat sits waiting for a package that might not fit. A fisherman in Minnesota bought a Yamaha outboard priced at $950, straight from a warehouse in Shenzhen. He bolted it to his aluminum skiff, filled the tank, and spent the next 2 summers trolling for walleye. After more than 300 hours, the engine still starts on the second pull, never having seen a drop of salt water or a single mechanic's bill. For him, the gamble paid off. No digital headaches, just steady freshwater miles at a fraction of the price. But reliability is not only a question of country or cost. In Florida, a brand new American outboard with all the latest electronics left its owner stranded after a sudden engine control unit fault. The diagnostic code locked the engine, and the repair quote, $2,000 for a replacement control module, matched half the value of the boat. The dealer blamed a voltage spike. The owner blamed the complexity. Either way, the promise of seamless support turned into a lesson in how even premium engineering can fail in unexpected ways. Every outboard, no matter the flag, comes with its own risks and rewards. Sometimes a budget Chinese motor delivers years of quiet service. Sometimes a high-end American engine falters, not from cheap metal, but from the invisible glitch of a microchip. The truth is rarely as simple as the stereotypes suggest. Choosing the right outboard starts with a hard look at how and where you will run. For saltwater, long trips, or heavy use, map out the nearest certified dealers before you buy. American brands maintain dense service networks, often within an hour's drive, while Chinese brands may leave you waiting weeks for parts. Inspect a node placement and plan for replacement every season in brackish or salt water. Neglecting this step can turn a bargain engine into scrap within a year. Stick to the manufacturer's maintenance schedule. Oil every 100 hours, change gear lube every 50 hours, and replace the water pump impeller every 2 years for American models. For Chinese engines, have those intervals if you run in harsh environments or notice early corrosion. Resale is another reality check. Expect an American outboard to hold 40 to 50% of its value after 10 years, with buyers lined up for well-documented dealer-serviced units. A Chinese outboard, by contrast, often drops to near scrap value in half that time, with few takers for anything out of warranty. For buyers who prioritize lowest upfront cost and can handle their own repairs, a Chinese outboard may fit the bill, especially for light freshwater use. For everyone else, the math favors engines built for the long haul, backed by a service network that will not vanish when the first warning light blinks. Right now, millions of boaters face a trade-off that cuts deeper than price, between engineered longevity and disposable convenience. As global supply chains shift and patents expire, the line blurs, and the consequences ripple for years. What we choose today shapes the waters tomorrow. It shapes reliability, it shapes risk, and it shapes what we value most in the engines that carry us. Let me know where you stand in the comments below.